Its Pope is currently leading the greatest ecumenical movement in history in order to unite all religions under Rome's leadership. In 1986, Pope John Paul II gathered in Assisi, Italy, the leaders of the world's major religions to pray for peace. There were snake worshippers, fire worshippers, spiritists, animists, Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, North American witch doctors. I watched in astonishment as they walked to the microphone to pray. The Pope said they were all praying to the same God, and that their prayers were creating a spiritual energy that was bringing about a new climate for peace. John Paul II allowed his good friend the Dalai Lama to put the Buddha on the altar in St. Peter's Church in Assisi, and with his monks to have a Buddhist worship ceremony there while Shintoists chanted and rang their bells outside. The prophesied world religion is in the process of being formed before our eyes, and the Vatican is the headquarters of the movement.
The future of surveillance is hiding in plain sight at the Baja Beach Club in Rotterdam, Holland. This may look like a regular party, but it's no normal club. The Baja has an elite group of special VIPs who are different from other clients. They need no identification and no cash to buy drinks or food. To enter the club, all they have to do is offer up an arm to a scanner. And tonight, 21-year-old Ryoni Schutten will be joining the in crowd.
I just do it because it's more comfortable. They will bring you the drinks and food instead of you going to the bar to get it.
But before he can party, Ryoni has a doctor's appointment. He's getting an electronic chip implanted in his arm. It's called radio frequency identification. An RFID chip is a small device that transmits a radio signal that's read by a scanner. In 2003, the Attorney General of Mexico and some of his staff received RFID implants inside their bodies to allow them access to sensitive areas. While it's not yet commonplace, Ryoni's doctor has implanted nearly 100 chips.
At first I have some doubt, of course, because you are putting chips in healthy young people. But I think it's the future.
Each tiny chip has a number. A scanner connected to a database can instantly reveal who the person is and much more. Technically, there's no limit to the information the database can hold.
This is the needle with which I'm gonna implant the chip.
The chip itself is a little larger than a grain of rice. It will remain inside Ryoni's body for the rest of his life, or until he undergoes surgery to have it removed. Ryoni will need an anesthetic before the procedure. The chip is implanted just millimeters below the skin. If it goes in too close to the muscle could be damaged, and Ryoni will feel the chip when he moves. If all goes well, he won't even know it's there.
Okay. Get the needle out and we're ready.
The procedure is over in seconds. And now it's time to party. Although others have to pay cash at the entrance, when Ryoni arrives, his name and number instantly identify him as a VIP member of the club. He makes his way to the VIP deck and uses his implant to buy a drink. The Baja is a glimpse of a not-so-distant future. Already, some people have chips with critical health information. Some think that soon everyone will have a chip that will identify them and allow a new form of surveillance. Joe Von Galen manages the club and likes to keep an eye on everyone, especially his chipped VIPs.
I think that in 20 years it will be a normal thing. I think when you get born you get a chip and it will stay in your body for the rest of your life and you get all kind of information on it. So if you got a problem, they read the chip and then they know who you are.
Implanted ID chips may be just the beginning. Future chips could be coupled with GPS tracking technology, making it possible to locate anyone, anytime, anywhere. Parents and pet owners are already using external GPS units to keep track of their loved ones. In the U.S., approximately 7,500 criminals are monitored by GPS. And these devices are only getting smaller. Although GPS implants aren't currently available, it might be only a matter of time before every criminal, perhaps even every citizen, has an ID chip. Once the stuff of science fiction, these surveillance technologies are becoming reality. But the more amazing they get, the more controversies they create. In the name of security, societies around the world are struggling to redraw the line between surveillance and privacy.
The bill before me will help law enforcement to identify, to dismantle, to disrupt, and to punish terrorists before they strike.
Just months after the 9/11 attacks, President Bush secretly ordered the government to listen in on some Americans' phone calls without getting warrants. Technically, snooping on communications is not difficult. Almost every phone call, fax, and email passes through a network of towers and satellites. This digital data can be intercepted with listening dishes or by using spy satellites. The U.S. alone has more than 30,000 eavesdroppers scattered around the world, working with at least 100 spy satellites. Every 3 minutes, they collect enough information to fill the Library of Congress. Governments tell us these technologies make us safer. But where is it all leading? More than ever, authorities say we need surveillance in a dangerous and wired world. Even 500,000 cameras couldn't stop the London bombings. New technologies like ID implants, iris scans, and facial recognition have the power to reveal anyone who has committed a crime or crossed a border illegally. But they also have the power to invade our privacy. In the future world of total surveillance, there may be nowhere to hide.
This is the microchip that could one day be implanted under the skin of every single American.
We have a Florida family who are really pioneers in a brave new world. They have volunteered to be the first ever to have microchip identification devices implanted into their body.
After 9/11, I was really concerned with the security of my family.
Top CFR Lieutenant Diane Sawyer for 8 minutes sat there in a sickening fashion with this poor, pathetic family as they discussed how they were all taking microchips because they believed in America and wanted to stop the terrorist. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something out of a science fiction horror movie. They're taking chips because they stand with the mother government. I'm living in Nazi Germany Twilight Zone. Now politicians are announcing that they want to get chipped.
Something has to change, though. They have to find a better way to identify the bad guys, or the rest of us are going to stay home and watch the world go by on television. But we need some system for permanently identifying safe people. Most of us are never going to blow anything up, and there's got to be something better than one of these photo IDs, a tattoo somewhere maybe. The Saudis used an American device to scan the eyes of travelers. I wouldn't mind having something planted permanently in my arm that would identify me. If we don't do something, people are going to stop flying. If they stop flying, and I don't go to the Giants games, it means the bastards have won.
Yeah, we're not going to let you win, buddy. We saw what you just implied. We're with Al-Qaeda if we don't take the microchip.
Do you know how to keep your children safe? We'll tell you tonight.
In the next year, you'll be able to use your teen's cell phone to locate them 24/7. Younger children will get a small global positioning device hidden in their wristwatch or backpack. And just around the next high-tech corner, an electronic chip like this that can be implanted under your kid's skin. Let's say children in your community start wearing wristwatches with GPS devices in them. Can't that only be a good thing for the community if it keeps children safe?
I would love that. I mean, what's a parent's fear?
I think it's a parent's obligation to ensure that their children have a chance to mature, to grow, to realize their potential. If it means it's Big Brother, so be it.
You got to do what you got to do to keep your kids safe. Civil libertarians, eat your hearts out.
Civil libertarians, eat your hearts out.
Applied digital solutions could track human beings by satellite. All right, we got the Van Dams, we got this little girl Elizabeth Smart, we got this girl in Pennsylvania, we got Samantha Runyon, we got this other little girl, one after another, after another, after another, after another. And parents around America saying, we can't even allow our kids to play in the front yard. Is there anything, technologically speaking, that they can do that could help in a situation like a kidnapping? Is there, for example, a microchip, a watch, a tracking device we can use for our kids?
We are working on a product that we have called internally a PLD. PLD stands for Personal Locating Device, which is an implantable GPS for which our company owns a patent and can be implanted surgically in the clavicle area of a child or someone that you are interested in tracking. It is the first implantable microchip for humans that has multiple security, financial, and healthcare applications.
One thing I would just suggest, I'm just an outside, soon-to-be investor. I love this idea, by the way, Scott. I think there's a great...
Thank you, Sean.
Put it in earrings, put it in a cross, make it smaller, maybe
As you've known, I've talked a lot about mind control and done some videos on brainwashing and such. Now, what if I told you that you were being bombarded with mind control techniques on a daily basis? So there's many different types and levels of mind control. Now, what I'm going to do today is give you a rough outline of the different types of mind control. So in the future, I'm going to be doing different videos on each individual type of mind control. Now, today I'm just going to be going over an overview of the different types, and I'm going to be giving you examples of each type so you can be aware of the different types of mind control. Now, if you may want to subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a whole series on the different types of mind control, and you might be interested. So there's 3 basic levels of mind control. Now, each level corresponds with a different school of psychology. So the first level appeals to consciousness. The second level appeals to unconsciousness. And the third level appeals to biology. So in terms of schools of psychology, the first one, consciousness, has to do with and corresponds with cognitive psychology. Cognitive means aware. You're aware of what's going on. The second one is unconsciousness. That corresponds with behavioral psychology. Third one is biological psychology. That would also be psychiatry. Now, this is when you try to control the mind through physical means such as drugs and electroshock. Every mind control technique fits somewhere in this chart. Some mind control techniques will fit squarely at one of these levels. Other mind control techniques will maybe fit in between 2. But every mind control technique fits in some part of this chart. So let's look at the different levels of mind control and what fits in between. The first level we're going to look at is the conscious level or the cognitive level. This level deals with information. It never deals with punishment, duress, or physical pain. And it appeals to a person's reason. So the 2 basic forms of this would be education and ideological indoctrination. So a good example of education is when you get your driver's license. You take certain classes, you learn the rules of the road, and the intention is to make you behave a certain way when you drive. Now, most people wouldn't have a problem with that, because if people didn't behave a certain way when they drive, then we'd have a problem. So ideological indoctrination. What do I mean by that? Well, ideological means worldview, your philosophy, and indoctrination means what you're educated in. So what are you educated in your worldview? So this would include your political education, your religious education, and even your science education. Now what we mean is, how do you view the world by what you are educated by? So at this level, we also have to mention propaganda. Now the word propaganda means information, but because propaganda has been abused in the past, people have a negative viewpoint of it. Now the basic idea is someone wants you to view the world in a certain way, so they educate you to do so. So I'll be doing some more videos on propaganda and I'll get more into it, but all propaganda is information control. Now, it's actually not always bad. I'm going to give you a couple examples. Have you ever seen those billboards that say 50,000 people a year die in drunk driving accidents? Now, that's propaganda. Is it bad? I don't think so. Now, here's another example. Hitler. Hitler used propaganda to educate the German populace into the idea that all Germany's problems were because of the Jews. Is that bad? Yeah. So let's look at the next level, unconscious or behavioral psychology. this does not appeal to the conscious. This is an attempt to control a person without their conscious decision being involved at all. So the biggest school of psychology in this level is behavioral psychology, which comes from Pavlovian psychology. You know the guy Pavlov, he had the dog and he'd ring the bell and the dog would salivate. Well, this deals with stimulus response. Now, stimulus response. Stimulus, something happens. You ring the bell. And response, the dog salivates. Now, this does not appeal to the conscious. The dog does not decide to salivate. He just does. It's an automatic response. Now, unlike the conscious level, this level often includes physical pain, punishment, and duress. So you may have seen some of my videos about the MK Ultra program. Now, this program deals in this unconscious level. It's an attempt to implant a stimulus response mechanism. So, for example, you would implant a command in a person so that when they hear a key word, which would be the stimulus, they would go and kill someone, which would be the response. It's a stimulus response. Now again, the person that is programmed to kill doesn't decide to do it because it's an automatic response. And in fact, he doesn't even know he's programmed because it's in his subconscious. At this level, we have hypnotism. And the reason that is because hypnotism is implanting commands into the subconscious. Now, for example, you have the operator that says, when I say bubblegum, you are going to bark like a dog. So you have the stimulus, bubblegum, you have the response, barking like a dog. Or the operator says, when I snap my fingers, you're going to act like a stripper. So snapping my fingers is the stimulus and acting like a stripper is the response. Creating a stimulus response mechanism is called conditioning. Now, part of conditioning is programming a person to associate pain or pleasure with a certain thing. Now, another part of this level is punishment. Now, punishment is an attempt to get someone to associate pain with an undesirable behavior. So here's an example. Say you have a kid, and your kid flips the teacher off. Now, in the cognitive level, you would sit your child down and you would explain to him why that's wrong. And hopefully your child would make the decision not to do it again. Now, in this unconscious level, the behaviorist level, you would beat the hell out of your kid until he associates pain with flipping the teacher off, and hopefully he doesn't do it again. I have a personal pet peeve with behaviorism because it's an attempt to control someone's behavior like you would train a dog using rewards and punishment. Now, I personally like the cognitive approach. So at this level, we also have brainwashing, or what the CIA likes to call interrogation. And you would do this by using physical pain and duress to control someone. So another note about brainwashing is that it has the word washing. Now, washing means to wipe something away, to wash it away, right? Now, the word brainwashing comes from a technique they used in China, also called political re-education. Now, the idea is that you wash something away and you put something else in its place. Now, in the MK Ultra program, psychiatrist Ian Cameron would call it de-patterning. Another form of this is when you take someone from their religion and you use mind control techniques to wipe out their religious beliefs, and then you put another belief in its place. Now, this is called deprogramming. So under brainwashing, we have political re-education, we have de-patterning, or we have religious re-education, or deprogramming. Now, the last level, we have biology. Now, this equates to biological psychology or psychiatry. Now, what you're doing at this level is you're attempting to control behavior through physical interventions. Physical interventions include drugs, brain surgery, electroshock, or implanting something into the brain. Now, remember the example I gave you with the child who flipped the teacher off. Now, the cognitive approach would be to sit the child down and to explain to him why it's wrong. The behaviorist approach would be to spank him, and the biological approach would be to label him with oppositional defiant disorder and give him a psychotropic drug. So I'm not going to get into this biological approach because I'm going to do a video later, and this video is going to include a program that it's a mind control program that would actually implant microchips and electrodes into someone's brain so they can be controlled like a remote control car or a remote control robot. Now, those are 3 basic levels. Now, there are all sorts of different mind control techniques that fit in between these levels as well. Now, in between the conscious and the unconscious level, there's different techniques to control someone's behavior through emotions. And we're being subjected to this constantly on a daily basis. Now, one of these techniques is public relations, and this is aimed to make you feel a certain way about something. Now, public relations isn't always aimed to make you feel good about something. It can also make you feel bad about a competitor or a group or a person. Now, this is called black public relations, and I'm also going to do a video on this later. Now, another mind control technique is marketing and advertisement, and I'll be doing a video about this later, but there's a reason why you have the half-naked girl holding the can of beer. So another mind control technique that would fall in between the conscious and the unconscious would be what I like to call pandering. And the word pandering means to fulfill an immoral desire. So you have a prostitute who panders to a sexual desire, and you have a drug dealer who panders to an addiction. So I'm using this word lightly, but basically what I mean is you're controlling someone by giving someone what they want. Now, under pandering, I'm including social control by distraction, and that includes television, porno, video games. So another technique I want to mention at the biological level is drug addiction. Pimps keep their whores in line by making them addicted to drugs. And beyond that, there's a reason why they add caffeine in our soft drinks. There's a reason why they add MSG into our fast food. And there's a reason why they add sugar in almost anything you buy at the grocery store. It's a type of mind control. So the last technique I want to mention is at the very bottom, and it's when you give up on trying to control their mind and you actually restrain them. So some examples of this are straitjackets, institutionalization, imprisonment, and heavy tranquilizers. Now, if all else fails, you can't control their mind, you can't restrain them, there's still the final solution. You can shoot them. So there's my video. Thanks for watching. And I'm going to be doing more videos on all the different types of mind control. But I would actually like to know, out of all the mind control techniques I've talked about, which one would you like me to do a video on? We're going to do a vote. By the way, thanks a lot again for all your comments and your ratings. I appreciate it, and keep it up.
Woo!